Hi, everyone, and welcome back to episode 7 of Her Playbook podcast with Devon and Jaden Whitmarsh. It's weird because we put out an episode last week, but we actually haven't been to the studio in like 2 weeks, so I'm really happy to be back.
I know. I'm also really excited to be back.
Yeah.
It's also a pretty hectic and chaotic time of our lives right now. Do you want to explain kind of what's going on?
Yes. So we are in the last 2 weeks of season, which means we've officially entered postseason. We leave tomorrow for Pac-12s, which is going to be the last Pac-12s tournament for beach volleyball ever. For UCLA, at least. Mm-hmm. So we're excited to be a part of the history. Totally. And it's going to be a crazy tournament. It's going to be like high 90s. Mm-hmm. We actually got really lucky because it looks like we'll be playing in the morning, which won't be as bad versus like a 3:30 match, which is going to be at like 98 degrees.
So hot.
So I'm really glad that we're playing in the morning.
I know.
And yeah, it's just been a crazy season. Like we've been traveling nonstop.
Yeah, it's been such a fun season. And again, it is our last season.
Yeah.
So we've just been really soaking it all in. Although it has flown by and everyone says it's going to fly by, but it really does. Yeah. And our team always talks about kind of like just trying to slow things down, especially because when it gets to the end of season, you can blink and it'll be over. Yeah. So just like being present is such a huge part of this time in our season.
Totally. We were just talking about this in a team meeting, but I like vividly remember my freshman year, Cami Sanchez telling me, who is a former Bruin, telling me that like when you get to postseason, like her first year, she doesn't remember a thing because she wasn't present, and like it all went by so quickly. And that's exactly what happened to me my first year. I don't really remember much. I just remember being like, I want this to be over so I can know if I win or lost. Like I just need it to be done. And we ended up losing on my court that year. So I remember that moment. Definitely. But it's nice because I feel like even though it is coming to an end, I feel like we've been so present this whole year that it doesn't feel like, even though it's gone by so quickly, it doesn't feel like it's just been like wasted time. Like I feel like we've made such great like bonds with our whole team. Like I feel like we're at the perfect place to like where we're so close and we're still like peaking. Like we haven't peaked yet, which is exactly like where I want to be going into postseason.
Yeah, it's been so important for us to have like team meetings and to all sit in a circle and kind of like get what we're feeling out because it can be such a stressful time. And another thing too is like we still have practices, but we're not going to improve in our skill that much. It's more about tuning in with your partner and getting into the best headspace that you can. And a lot of what we do is partner work with the Enneagram. Yeah.
So for those who don't know, and I highly recommend you take it, you can pause it and take it right now. It's the Enneagram test, and there's 9 personalities or 9 different types you could be, 1 through 9, and they each have different meanings, and they are like really do reign so true to like who we are, at least. And for our team, it's worked really well for them as well. And so Jaden and I are both type 2s, which means we're the 2s. And so we're known as the helpers, which you want to explain what like the helpers are?
Yes. I feel like we've talked about this a little bit before, but the 2s is basically we're just like very caring people. We just care a lot about everyone that we interact with, and on the team we're kind of like the mothers. So the way that we act on the court is that we read into a lot of body language, and communication is like huge for us. So like if our partner is like giving us a cold shoulder, like we're gonna read into that a lot. Or if the partner's just like not talking, we're gonna be like, okay, they hate us. Like,
exactly.
So we're a little bit emotion driven, which is good and bad, but it's so interesting because a lot of people wouldn't think that like you and your matching Enneagram can be like play well together, but I think specifically for like the number 2 type, because we're so like emotional, we also like, I'm not going to do that to my partner. So like you might be more prone to reading into my body language, I'm going to be more prone to making sure my body language is perfect. Whereas somebody who let's say is a type 3 or 8 who are like really competitive people and really hard on themselves might not notice that they're giving off a body language because they're upset at themselves. So and here I am sitting in a corner being like, why do you hate me? What have I done that's wrong? And all this stuff. But I think it's really good for our team, and it's worked in the past, to just like
know what kind of player you are, what kind of person you are, so that when it gets into moments of stress, like you're so able to understand like what you need from somebody, what you need from your team, and like how you can handle yourself best.
So true. Yeah, we've been talking a lot in our team, and also just like when I talk to younger female athletes, a big question is like, how do you handle stress? And I think it's really fitting going into the last 2 weeks of season in this like super kind of stressful and chaotic time. Like, how do you handle stress off and on the court?
Yeah. It's so funny because it's two completely separate things. Like, I am sure there's some overlap. I haven't done enough analysis of myself yet. But I think for me, I'll start with on the court. I think on the court stress is when like I have like, it's like fear-based of like either fear-based, like my partner's pissed at me or mad at me that I'm not performing well. Or it's like fear-based, like I don't want to lose. And like, I don't want to be the reason that we cause our team to lose right now.
Yeah.
And so in the past, when I've like really stressed out, I'm like really hard on myself, and like internally I'm like really not like having the best like positive talk, which I think is like really common for people. Yeah. And I think that the best way for me to handle my stress, and the way it will look is I will like kind of my body language will go down, and like I won't make eye contact with people, and like I'm really quiet on the court when like my style is being like loud and confident.
Yeah.
And I think the best way I've learned to combat that is by like open communicating everything. And so there have been times with you, like countless amount of times, where I felt like there's been 3 points, let's say, where like I don't perform well. And in my own head, I'm going crazy. And then I voice that to you just to get the narrative out of my head. So then I'll be like, am I like the worst blocker in the world right now? And you'll turn to me and you'll be like, no, are you kidding? Like, you're going to go get this ball. You'll be fine. And that's all I need. And like, that's really all I need. It's like the quickest switch, because I need positive reinforcement outside. And I also need you to know that like I'm struggling right now, so that you could then pick up the energy.
Yeah.
So that's what's your off the court or on the court?
On the court, I mean, it's pretty similar, like in the same way that we were both too, is like affirmations, I guess, is just like obviously huge from my partner. But also something I've practiced over time is like being like in my breath, like slowing things down. I feel like when I am stressed, I tend to go really fast.
Yeah.
And it feels like things are going a mile a minute.
Yeah.
So what I've learned is just kind of like to take a deep breath, like be where my feet are, and like just take it point by point, because when things just get rolling, that's when I'm at my low point.
Totally.
So yeah, I like to slow it down. I like to wipe the sand off me, wipe the sand off the line, and like connect with my partner.
Totally.
And then move on.
We also, I think like we always say that like we need the fluff. So like there's people who need the information from their coaches, or they need the information from their partners, as in like serve here, they're going to serve you here, you're going to pass it this way, let's run this play.
Yeah.
For us, like we like the fluff and a little bit of information. So like when I'm walking on the side with my coach, like I like to hear like you're doing great, you're going to get this ball, rather than like you need to do this right now, or like pressure's on or something. Yeah. And I feel like for a while I was so embarrassed to admit that I wanted like positive affirmations, and that like I couldn't do it myself, which you can do with your partner yourself, but it's like not the most fun thing to admit, because like at first it made me feel like I wasn't some hardcore athlete, like mentally, where I was like, I don't need anyone to tell me this, like I can get through it myself. But in reality, that's just like not the kind of person I am. And like I will always need the fluff, and like I'll always need like a positive energy that could shift in a couple of years, I don't know. But I think that reminding yourself that like everybody's gonna have a different style, which goes back to like the Enneagrams and stuff.
So true. Another this is kind of volleyball related, but a trick that we've learned is just like little cues. Like if you're struggling with passing that day, like thinking to yourself just like a little snippet could be really helpful. So like whether it's like arms out, or like shuffle, or pass up, like just saying that in your head before you do it will get you in a routine, and you'll start to actually do it.
Totally.
So that's been helpful for me too, when I just feel like I'm having a tough passing day. Like I know I can do it.
Yeah.
So like it's just like bringing it out.
Hard to remember in the moment too.
Yeah, exactly.
Off the court.
Yeah. What's your stress or how do you handle stress
off the court? I am definitely still working on. I think it can go really fast. Same as like what you were saying, almost in volleyball. Like a lot of things add up at once, and then I don't have the time for this. I have to prioritize this. I'm going to have to sit and stare at a computer for this hour, whatever it is. And then usually I like need to rant it all out, and like not everyone's going to agree. I need to complain like a ton, and I need to do it to like my safe people. So like I'll call my mom or I'll call my boyfriend and I'll be like, I'm so upset right now at all these things going on in my life. They know that like it's not coming from a bad place. So it's like they can take that and be fine. And then I usually like deal with, like I put a plan in place. Like I usually go on my notes and then I put a little to-do list on to see what like I actually have to do that night.
Yeah.
And then I treat myself, because I'm like, I just had a really stressful day. I need to order in food, and I either need to like cry for a second or like watch a really good movie, even if that means me staying up a little later so that I can like reward myself or like just like enjoy myself before I go to bed. Like that's more important to me, because if I go to bed in stress, I'm going to wake up the same way the next morning.
Yeah. That's when I'll get the text from Devon saying, massages,
yeah.
or sushi.
Yeah.
Yeah, mine's pretty similar. I feel like off the court, it's just important for me to like set aside time to like do what I love that has nothing to do with volleyball. So like whether it's just like doing actually nothing with my friends, like watching a movie, like doing something like that, or like going to get coffee, going to the beach, I don't know, just like doing something just to like ease my mind. And then also just like taking a nap. Like I love to take a nap, just to like calm my brain down. I feel like sometimes I'm just going like, I can't stop thinking, so I just like need to like shut my eyes and like go to bed, Jaden.
Oh my God, yeah. And then you wake up, it's like a new day. You're like, okay,
I'm ready.
I can take it now.
Exactly.
We also get like probably don't get the best sleep in the world, so
that's
it's
true.
good. Okay, so what do you think has been your most like emotional match you've played in, and like what was it like playing in it?
Emotional, I mean,
either way, like good or bad, like whether it was like really high stress, it was positive.
Yeah. It's definitely in Gulf Shores, like national championships, because there's so much hype around playing in a championship. And we've played in our fair share of championships, and they've all been very emotional.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I guess maybe I mean, I always talk about the Stetson one with you and me.
Yeah. That was pressure.
Yeah, that is just like the definition of pressure. And
like expectations.
Yeah, expectations. For those that don't know, it was single elimination in the first round of national championships, and I think we were ranked number 1 or 2. Number 1 in the tournament. And so we had this huge expectation to obviously beat the 15th, 16th seeded team. So when you have this target on your back, you're like, oh, like, okay, like everyone's going to bring their best game and you got to show up. And then when you don't, it's like, oh my God, like what did we do? But anyway, the dual score was tied 2-2, and it came down to Devon and I's court, and we just like looked at each other.
We were like, all right,
here we go.
Yeah.
That happened quite a few times, but that one was just especially emotional because of just how hard you worked during the season to like get to this point, and then to think like if it comes down to our court and we don't win, like
it's
that
over.
Feels like a huge burden.
Yeah.
Which is really hard, and like that has happened to us before. Like you were saying earlier, like how does that feel when it comes down to your court for you?
For me, I've had like both experiences. Like I had like a national championship like being won on my court and it wasn't me. So like I watched like the ball drop and I saw the entire team like storm the court, and it was like a blur for me. I was like, okay, like get off the court.
Yeah.
And I think though in that moment, I was very young. I was a sophomore and I didn't really have the best mindset, and I wasn't having a good year. And I remember just being like, knowing they were going to win. Like I was like, I know this team's about to win, and I know it's going to happen on my court. Like I would look up at the scoreboard and I was like,
really?
Yeah, it's all coming down to my court and we're not going to win this, because we'd already lost the first set and it was really close. And I knew the second set was just going to be a blowout. And so there's that side of it where like I wasn't in the best like mental place. So it mattered to me, but I already knew what was coming. So it was like I was kind of mentally prepared for it going in. And then there's the ones that we've played where like, I don't know, beach volleyball is such an interesting sport because like last year, like we got to play against, was that no, 2 years ago, we played FSU in the semifinals. And it's like we had the most emotional match. Like the scores were like 26-24, 22-20, and then 14-16 in the third set. And it's like we were like putting every ounce of our bodies into those plays. And like,
oh my God,
on the end of that match, like it was the most gratifying feeling knowing we did our part for our team. And like, it was out of our control now.
Yeah.
But then on the flip side, like it's out of our control now. So now we're watching it like us lose the semifinals. And I am just like, what is happening? Like it's the most infuriating feeling to like watch everything and have no control over it.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm like so excited to see like who ends up in those scenarios this year, because it really could be anything. I don't even really fully understand the format yet. I haven't been like focused on Gulf Shores yet. Like it's going to come next week. But for now it's Pac-12s, and like for Pac-12s, it's going to be the same thing. It could all come down to one court. And like part of me hopes it's me and you, just because like we've been there. So like I love those moments now. Like those moments make me feel really comfortable and confident in those moments. But I also think it's going to be so cool for like if somebody's doing it who's never experienced that before, like what a like rush it will be to win that game.
Yeah, I always talk to like my sister about this because like she's a new player on like the starting lineup, and it's just like you need experience in those moments because no one's perfect at it. And like anything can happen, but at the same time, no matter if you win or lose those close games, you're going to take something from it.
Yes.
And you're going to learn something. So like it sucks to lose. No one wants to lose, but I'm sure that you're going to like take more from that than a win.
Yeah, absolutely.
So moving on, people are a little bit curious about what we do in our day-to-day life because we are just in a really unique position. So would you like to share what kind of like a typical practice day looks like?
Totally.
What are we eating? What are we doing?
Yeah, a lot of people are curious on the fuel. I'll run through practice day. I'll run through today, actually. I go into my breakfast, which is pretty much the same every day. It's a piece of sourdough toast, a big one, with avocado, lemon, and an egg. And that's it. Salt, pepper. Done. I have to book it to weights because weight starts at 11:30. So a lot of the time we're scrambling to get food in our mouths. And
What's
it's
your
like
favorite snack in between?
My favorite snack is like a Ritz crackers with peanut butter in between, and a Powerade. Those are like usually the two I do every day. For like overall fueling for like a day like today, I would do breakfast. I said my like snack in between weights. Lunch today was ribs, chicken, mac and cheese, and salad.
So good.
It was unbelievable.
Unreal.
And then I've been really trying to hydrate a ton throughout the day because we're about to, like I said, go into 98-degree heat.
Yes.
And then for dinner tonight, I'm going to do probably sushi. But if I wasn't doing sushi, I might make food at home, which is like I always do like a protein, a carb, and a veggie. So it's like I do salmon, potatoes, and asparagus.
Yeah.
And I always end the night with a sweet treat. So I usually do like a snickerdoodle cookie, a milkshake, ice cream.
Whatever happened to that machine that you bought that's like make your own?
Oh God. Does anyone remember the Ninja Creamy? Because I was obsessed with it and I went through a phase where like I thought about it every day and I just wanted to buy it. And at the time, like stocks were crazy. Like people were selling it out. I had to go on eBay and get a bidding war. I lost it, but I ended up buying it for like $200. I've used it 5 times.
Oh,
so I'm going to get back into it when it's a little hotter outside, I think.
Yeah.
But that's like my typical day in like fueling. What about you? What about you for game days?
Game days, I mean, it's different depending on like how many matches we're playing, but the biggest thing in terms of fueling is the night before we need to carbo load. So my favorite thing to do is go to an Italian restaurant.
Yeah.
I love pasta. I love anything red sauce, vodka sauce, like, and then obviously add some chicken to get the protein in there. But I think that's a great way to like get your body right for the next day. And then in terms of like breakfast, usually it's depending on if we're on the road or not, Starbucks.
Yeah, literally.
We love our coffee, and they actually have a pretty good like sandwich selection.
Yeah.
Or like if we're on the road, like in a travel trip, we usually have breakfast provided for us at the hotel, which is always amazing. But I usually just do like potatoes, like toast, oatmeal sometimes, fruit, just depending on what's available. And then Pre-game snack, I like fruit snacks and like applesauce, like quick sugar.
Yeah.
And then in between or like for lunch, I typically go for like a sandwich, maybe like a chicken pesto sandwich. Oh, something yummy. And then post, I would say something that's gonna fill me up.
Yeah, something like carbs still.
Yeah, it's like carbs or like, I don't know. I like mac and cheese.
Yeah, me too.
I like to treat myself too. I feel like that's kind of a typical game day.
Yeah, I think that there's like this huge like misconception on like what athletes fuel themselves with, because it's like different, like so different. And it's like establishing what works best for your own body.
Yes.
So for me, like there was a period in time where it's like I thought I had to eat like a certain, I don't know, like a certain athlete did. So it's like in the mornings I was only having like an egg or like egg whites and onions and mushrooms. And it's like, yes, that was fine, but one, I didn't really like it that much, and like it didn't fuel me the way I needed it. Like I need a huge carb in the morning in order to get through my 2-hour practice I'm about to have. And then same thing for lunch. Like you think like, I remember watching these girls eat like just like tuna packets, and when I with like lettuce and vegetables and stuff, and for me it's the same thing. Like that might work for their body type, but for me, like I need like a lot of food. And like we are doing so much every day, and like every person does a lot every day, whether you're an athlete or you're not an athlete. Like you don't realize how much like food your body needs. And I think that especially in our sport, there was like such like a toxic world about like how an athlete was supposed to eat or how a beach volleyball player was supposed to eat. And I'm sure that goes way back to like bikinis and why we're in little to nothing in the summers and how that feels. But moral of the story is that like we could be both eating one type of food. That does not mean that you should be eating that kind of food. And that doesn't mean that if you're eating more than us, that that's bad. And it doesn't mean if you're eating less than us, then that's a good thing. Like go talk to your doctor, go talk to your food nutritionist and your school, your team, go get one, like whatever it may be, trial and error, like figure out what works best for you.
Yeah, for
Because
sure.
like you never want to be in the position, like food is such fuel for you, and like you never want to be compromising that.
So true. I feel like we've learned, or I guess I've learned a lot about this in college.
Yeah.
And through our nutritionist, like, it has been such a, I have just like a better understanding of what I'm like, what I'm choosing to eat and how that's going to make me perform.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because you reap the repercussions. Like there was a game this past weekend or this at USC where like I either didn't eat enough in the morning or I didn't have a snack to go. And like in the middle of my match, when like nerves are high, I'm like expending all this energy and I'm playing 2 full matches out in the 3rd set. Like my hands start shaking and I'm like, oh my God, like I need quick sugar now. So like I have people running to go get me gummies and like power down some electrolytes.
Yeah.
And then after the match, I'm completely depleted. So it's like, I learned my lesson then. And like going into this next week, like I know that I'm going to have to like really put like fueling and hydration like on the top of my priority list, because that's probably 80% of my game. Because if I can't compete at my highest level, like I'm not going to win.
So true. Fueling is so important for performance, but also for recovery too. Like it really matters about what you're going to eat after you play too, and how quickly you need to eat after to get your muscles back to normal.
Yeah, 100%.
So anyway, let's go into the things we wish we knew routine edition.
Yes.
So do you want to start it off?
We wanted to do kind of like tips and tricks. One of my favorite things to do is ask my teammates and people around me, like, what are your like wellness or health or like anything like routine wise, like what are your tips and tricks? Because each person has such like things that work for them. And I like to know because it might work for me. I don't know. My first one is to make yourself a fun drink at night. I have been doing this way before the Sleepy Girl mocktail came out. I did this for ages, so copyrighted. But I don't do it just for like sleep. So every night, for the most part, I take like sparkling water because it feels fancier to me. And then I put in an electrolyte and I put in vitamin C. And then sometimes I'll add in cherry juice and magnesium if I like do need the extra sleep recovery and I have like a long window of time. Don't drink cherry juice or take magnesium like right before you go to bed because you'll be groggy in the morning. But so it's like my little health elixir. So then I can wake up in the morning feeling good. Especially I do it before we're about to travel because I always get sick on airplanes. Always.
Yeah.
And vitamin C for some reason is just like what works for me to like prevent me from getting sick. So I've been doing this like every night.
Oh, that's amazing. Mine is hydration. And you kind of, you kind of touched on it a little bit, but I do have a bit of a cramping problem. And I had to learn it the hard way through many just problems.
Yeah. A lot of cramp outs. Yeah.
Yeah, like it's just been bad. So I've now learned how to hydrate, especially going into a weekend like this week that we have coming up where it's going to be so hot. It's so important to hydrate way before. And then when you get to the site, when you get to like game day, to do water and electrolytes.
Yeah.
And my new favorite thing is salt packets. And I take them before like when we're warming up.
Yeah.
And I think it has so much salt in it.
I know. Those are really strong.
So strong.
Really strong, but they do work.
Yeah, especially for someone like me who is prone to cramping, like those things have been helping me so much. And then always just like Powerade and like water and just like hydrating so I'm not gonna pass out on the court.
Absolutely. Okay, this is just like my own personal thing. I like to clean my room when I'm dirty and then get clean after my room's clean. So like if my room's a mess, I'm gonna still be like really gross either from like practice or something and just clean it while I'm gross, even though that's not really the fun part. The best part is knowing once you leave the shower, like after you're out of the shower, your entire room's clean. And I learned this because I would be like I would clean my room after I was clean.
Yeah.
But while I'm like still freshly showered, I would have like sand on my feet and I would be touching all the gross stuff and I just didn't like it.
Yeah.
It's the same way that like I can't do my homework back when I used to have homework. I can't do my homework or do work until my room is clean or until my desk is clean because it makes me feel more stressed. So that's mine.
I love that. Okay, my next one is writing stuff down in a planner. I will always be the type of person that's going to make to-do lists in my calendar, but it has to be like with pens. And I like to do like different colors for like, okay, practice is blue, like that kind of stuff. And then for like errands, like groceries or like even just planning out like little stuff like that, I'll use another color and then crossing it off just feels so good. And
yeah, it does.
That's just like is what helps me get in routine. And yeah, I mean, it sounds so like lame to say of just like writing stuff down, but it really does help you remember.
Yeah.
So yeah.
My next like two things in combination, I don't do the best of, which I'd like to do better.
Oh, okay.
But
that's good.
One, my teammate just brought this up to me the other day about probiotics is, well, one, you could drink kombucha, which I didn't realize is kombucha has like a bunch of live probiotics in it, which is so good for like women's health, like their gut health, like anything, like it's so good. And just to always make sure you're getting your probiotics in. So even if I'm not taking a probiotic pill, I'm eating a lot of yogurt or something that has live probiotics in it. That's just like on the woman's side of things. And then two would be protein, because protein is very overlooked for me at least. And after I got surgery, I like was so confused why my shoulders and my arms were still so small. And I was like, I'm working out every day. Like makes no sense. And then once I took a look at it with my trainer and we like tracked my protein for the day, I was eating like 1/3 of the protein I need to. And so you should look up how much protein should you be eating for your like size and for your height. And it'll tell you. And if you just track your protein for a day, you'll probably be so far off of what you actually need. So that's what I'm going to be working on in 2024 is getting my protein in, because I like want to see what I look like and what I feel like when I do get the proper amount.
Yeah, I wonder if that will like directly correlate to like, performance too. What if you just,
like, what if I have like huge like muscles on my arms? Like, I've never had that. You can't see. I have nothing, like no muscle on my arm.
Oh my God. Okay, that'll be fun.
Yeah.
Little science experiment.
Yeah, I'll let you know.
Okay, my next one is planning like fun outings or like doing different things. It's because we're talking so much about routine.
Yeah.
But also how important it is to like not be in a routine, because some days, especially like during the preseason, it can feel like your day is the exact
You're living
same.
the same day over and over again.
Yeah, like, oh, here we go again, like this. So yeah, something different that I like to do is just like plan those little pockets of time for me to like do different things. And
that is so important. I always see people talking about, and I always tell myself this, like I'm living the same day over and over and over again. And when I do have like an hour or two during the day, sometimes I don't want to go do anything because I'm like, oh, like I'm just like, I haven't had the time to sit on my phone for a while and stuff, which can be good. And like, I do give myself time to do that. But the other day, like even as simple as like getting out, and like I went to Noah's beach tournament and I was like, I think other than that, I would have, if not for that tournament, I would have just been sitting in bed all day, which I had already done the day before. So it's like, I got my rod in, but I needed to get out and do something to just change the routine, because I was sitting there on my phone being like, oh my God, like I have literally done this 7 days in a row, like where I am just like practice, weights, eat, sleep, repeat. And that's it. And it gets really boring. For a while, it's really fun. And then you do it for 8 days straight and you're just like, I'm so over this. And then you go out literally for 1 second of the day and I'm like, oh, I'm so good again.
Yeah. It's like can be as simple as going on a walk.
Yeah, it can. Just like fresh air on your face in sunlight.
When I think about my favorite times, like from the past like couple of months, it's like when we do like things as like a team, or like even just like getting dinner together. Like it can be just like so simple, but just to like mix it up so you feel like you're not living the same day.
Totally.
It's just, like, so huge.
Totally.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, thank you guys so much for watching again. Remember to subscribe and follow on all social media platforms at Her Playbook Pod. And we appreciate you watching, and keep up with us for Pac-12s and NCAAs in the next coming weeks.
Wish us luck.
Bye.
Bye, guys.